Namaste, friends. Another Sunday, 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time, and we are back with your popular program, Words of Wisdom Gyan Ganga, on our Virat Hindustan's Sangam's various social media channels. Today, we have an important discussion and a very interesting developing story, or uh, uh, call it a story or call it a situation which we Hindus are facing not only in India but across the globe. And the topic of today is the objective and strategy of opponents of Hindutva, and is there a remedy? That is the topic we'll be discussing in the next 45 minutes with Dr. Subramanian Swamy and our panels. So, a very interesting topic because we see daily reports, in spite of a Hindutva government in power, lot of reports from various parts of India, and uh, even places where the central government lies, that we are seeing this assault on Hindutva. And also across the globe, numerous situations, whether it is in Pakistan, whether it is in Bangladesh, or whether it is in the United Kingdoms of USA. This is a developing situation. So we have with us Dr. Swamy. I have to thank my co-host, Professor Arvind Chaturvedi from New Delhi, and Sri Ramesh Swamy for hosting this program with us every Sunday. And as you know, we have viewers across the globe in more than 120 countries which watch our program, which is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Periscope, Spaces, and some audio video channels which we carry on every Sunday. You can always go back to YouTube and go to the Virat Hindustan Sangam section and hear this program or all our past episodes. Today's episode is 173. So I have to thank our technical team led by Ashish Shetty, Ishwar Iyer, Swaminathan, Tejas Navalgul, Rakesh Gadgi, Ajesh Nair, and Vishal Mehta for their support to put this program together. Today I am in Madikeri in Kodagu district of Karnataka, and I have to thank our local hosts who have arranged for this internet connectivity, that is Mr. Nachappa Kodwa of CNC and Vijendra Shetty of the VHS Karnataka team for me making me able to do this telecast to you directly from Madikeri. With this, it will be over to Dr. Swamy to start this discussion, the objective and strategy of opponents of Hindutva, and is there a remedy? Over to Dr. Swamy.
Thank you very much, Jagdish. This is a developing topic and of a phenomenon which had not been witnessed earlier. I remember in the 60s and later on frequently of my visits to the United States till about 2004, 2005. I did not hear anything but good things about Indians, and particularly the Hindu community. And many of them had done extremely well. Some of us had become professors and so on in very reputed universities. But from that, somewhere around that time, I noticed that there were, new developments somehow. Never figured out at that time what the forces were. To see that Hindutva doesn't get traction. And that time the UPA was in power, and I am 100% certain that the UPA spent a lot of money in the United States to pay a visit to the US Embassy. And there he spoke to an embassy official, not ambassador, but much a junior rank. He spoke to him and said that we have come to the conclusion that the Hindu terror is more dangerous than Lakshya-e-Taiba. And it was proved later on, because anything that happened, they blamed Hindu. They selected people from various important walks of life. For instance, there was a lieutenant colonel who was a brilliant officer, young man, who actually was helping the country to understand Islamic terror and infiltration in India. And he had done extremely good work. He was targeted, beaten, thrashed, and made an attempt was made for him to give a false confession, but he stood his ground. And so that we thought was a kind of an isolated incident, but it wasn't. And he still, even in Narendra Modi's government, the cases have not been withdrawn. Of course, he'll win it because there's nothing in the case. So, but he has to still go through that unnecessary process of finding it in court. Then Sadhvi Pragya, who is now a member of parliament, she was a Sadhvi, and she was stripped and beaten. They did all kinds of vulgar things with her. And of course, because we came to power, she was able to come out. And so the process had begun within India. And ironically, the anti-Hindutva movement that I see is not so much in the raw masses who don't like Indians because they look different and so on. And the mobs, so to speak, that you have in the United States. But they seem to have really sprouted in the universities. It's in Oxford, it's in Cambridge, and any student who comes from India is absolutely, even if he's the most brilliant student, but if he has these views, then they start targeting him, and ultimately he or she has to run away. So this process started, and in America, the same time, we saw a new phenomenon and most welcome phenomenon of Rajiv Malhotra, who was not an academic. He was a very successful person in the corporate world, and particularly in telecom, and he rose to very great heights in the company. There was a famous American company, and at the age of 46 or 44 or something, he resigned and decided to dedicate writing books. He wrote books and books, and that's hurting the academics, because the academics had a point of view which they were projecting in the courses. And here's a man who was, he was not doing much in the universities. They weren't inviting him or they were blocking him, but he did it. But wherever he held general meetings or in the university campus, or when the students had invited him, you would find some professor would go there and start disturbing him and distorting what he says. So I would say the first thing is the objective that is being adopted against the Hindus is to put a stereotype which the British had started, and the British did it very crudely. This is a much more sophisticated thing. They write theses, they write books, and so on. And of course, the bottom line is the same. The bottom line is that India is not one country, it is multiple races, and Aryans, Dravidians, and all that nonsense that has been now discarded by modern science, but it was there. So, Hindutva being the essence of Hindutva, the essence of Hinduism, in the sense that when you were following the principles of Hindutva, you are actually, what you are doing is translating the principles of Hinduism into real life. How you behave with your parents, how you behave with your wife, how the children behave with their parents, what is the what we call as Shishtachar, how you deal with the issues, how you worship, so many things, you see, and the Hindus have a special way. And most troublesome was that the Hindus actually formally believe that all religions lead to God. So there's no clash on that. There's no clash that they like the Christians and the Muslims say, "My way or the highway," and if you don't accept my way, and if they are in majority, then they will persecute you. That's what we have been noticing in Spain, and we have been noticing in the Latin American countries, and of course in the Islamic countries. Very difficult for people who are not of their religion, their majority religion, they suffer. So, but the Hindu is not like that. It has no status. And there was a period when in India, from India, yoga, meditation, all these things started going, and people began accepting it. There was a kind of a fear that is this going to swamp us? And in fact, I don't know any of you would ever remember, some of you are too young to remember, I think. Newsweek in, I think, 2009 had the editor, a lady called Miller or something, who wrote a huge article in Newsweek that now we are all Hindus. And I myself was shocked by that article, seeing it with the title. There were film actresses like Julia Roberts, who went to India, converted, then converted her husband, converted her children, and even today she is visiting regularly the temples in California. So, I mean, you're getting more and more. And then our sadhus started going, they started holding sessions, and, big temples started coming in different parts of the country. And that's when some force, I don't know which force, because not the average American, some force began to feel that on one side, people like Rajiv Malhotra, then the other side, all these sadhus, and so on. So in a number of dimensions, the Hindu idea, which is very attractive. Actually, if you see the Hindu idea, it is extremely modern. All religions lead to God. We don't have a book. We don't have a church or a masjid, Makkah, like Makkah, or we don't have a son of God. We are of the view that, so many ways of reaching Hinduism, but these are the core concepts. And these core concepts are, I don't want to get into it, it will take a lot of time, but I would say that these core concepts are extremely, very scientific, very well-based, argued, so on. Shankaracharya, in India, we used to have a system called Shastra. That means you never use force to convert somebody to your way of thinking, your point of view. You use what we call as the Shastra, which means debate. And Shankaracharya, in fact, when he found that India had become Buddhist, and it became the Hinayana Buddhist, which was very, very strict Buddhism and very exclusive. So he went walking from Kerala all the way to Kashmir. And everywhere he stopped and found the leading Buddhist scholar there and said, let's have a debate. If I lose, I will become a Buddhist. If you lose, you become a Sanatani Hindu, or if you can understand the Advaita in Hinduism that I practice. Advaita Hinduism is philosophically a very, very sophisticated one, and it's not easy for in the beginning to become a Sanatani, to become a Advaita Hindu. So Shankaracharya went all over, and in fact, the first Shringeri Acharya who was appointed was a Buddhist, Mandana Mishra. And Mandana Mishra they debated him, and people said, well, Mandana Mishra is the greatest Buddhist scholar, Uttara Mimamsa school, and the Shankaracharya is the greatest Hindu scholar today. And who will be the umpire? So Mandana Mishra said, my wife knows all this theology very well, and she will be the umpire. Now see, here again, This is Hindu, the real Hinduism, which we have forgotten due to all these invasions and so on. Women played a major role in the intellectual progress of India. And I tell people, Brahma appointed three important portfolios, and they're all three to women. Defense went to Durga, finance went to Lakshmi, and education went to Saraswati. And there are no male gods who have got any portfolios, you see. And so when we worship, like we do Durga Puja, we do Saraswati Puja, and of course we do Lakshmi Puja. So there's no feeling that, she's a woman, there's no gender feeling at all in Hindu. So I'm saying that people in the intellectuals in India, in America and Britain and Germany, these are the principal countries, came to realize that if there was this free play given to Hindus, then what will happen is that people will become what the editor Miller had said in Newsweek, that we'll all become Hindus. And why she said it? She said people say, look, Hindus burn their dead bodies. We bury them. Look at the amount of waste of land that takes place, because the most prime waste, the prime land in which the graves are made, you can see it in New York if you're traveling from John F. Kennedy Airport to Manhattan. You'll see huge areas of only graves and graves. And who looks after them? You have to look after them. If you have a grave, you have to look after them. So she said that similarly, it doesn't require you to believe one particular dogma even if it's against your common sense. You can take an independent position. So, and I mean, she has listed the things which make her say that now we are all becoming Hindus. And of course, Julia Roberts, the famous film actress, I think she's got a large number of Oscars and all that. She also, after becoming Hindu, explained why she became Hindu. So I think today what we are seeing in universities, in various other places, and I might also add, Indians are doing very well when they go. They are not, go to these countries. Even if somebody goes and becomes a motor mechanic, soon he becomes an automobile engineer. So the Indians are rising. Today, Microsoft is headed by an Indian. Google is headed by Indian. You find Indians coming from India. They are holding very high positions, and I hate to say it, but I would say that bulk of them happen to be Hindus. And that is where the second strand comes. That Pakistan, some hostile Islamic countries, they are also now organizing these hate Hindu moves. And they want no sadhu sannyas to come and teach yoga or our religion and so on. So we are in a situation where the objectives becomes how do they implement this objective of making people dislike Hinduism and not like it, which if it is presented from its pure Hindu point of view, it becomes very attractive for every rational person. So the first thing I've noticed is that they are now portraying history in the history books. And now our Indians there, particularly the Hindus, they're putting on a huge fight in courts and all. But it's an uphill battle. They in the history books, in the research papers, and so on, what they are essentially saying is that India has been a losing country, and it's a country of people coming, invading, taking it over, and then creating some mixture of population. that kind of thing. It's not that this is the original civilization, it was there before. And the truthful history is that India is the only country which defeated all foreigners, whoever came. There was at the time there was there was, because India was at that time very few internal squabbles they used to have, because everything used to be argued out, and through argument it was ended. So when the Muslims came with their brutal force, they lasted quite a long before we could remove them. Sometimes the Muslims whom I know personally argue with me, saying, no, how can you say that? I said, all right, tell me one thing. Today, if I go to Udaipur, I can tell who the descendant of Rana Pratap is. If I go to Maharashtra, I can say who is the descendant of Shiva. Can you tell me who the descendant of Aurangzeb? There's no descendant of the Mughals anywhere, or Gori, or Ghazni, you see. They all disappeared. Because the great Hindu movement has digested them, has taken them, won them over at some stage, and perhaps converted. In fact, if it weren't for the British, we would have perhaps converted all the Muslims by the time another 100 years had passed, which unfortunately passed under the tutelage of the British. And therefore, the first thing they did was to start propagating our distorted history in the American universities, English universities anyway doing it earlier, German universities and so on. And there it is to demean India. It's mostly demeaning. They put Shiva's pictures in almost the despicable way, show our goddesses underclad, all that kind of thing at various levels. So this creates an hatred. And they are, I've called them opponents in my title, but they are really basically hostile enemies, you see. So this is one aspect that distorting history to show that we are a conquered race. We have never been able to rule ourselves. Somebody has to come from outside to rule us and put us together. There was no such thing as a united India. For instance, these DMK fellows and nutcases are saying the word Hindu was given by the British. I mean, there's some cinema actor who has stopped acting in cinema. Unfortunately, he's got into politics. And he gave a press conference saying the word Hindu is which the British created. There's no word in before. It was, we had different titles, either a Shaivite or a Vishnavite, and so on. So, but in our scriptures, you see Hindu is being defined as not people saying Sindhu river has been, the Greeks could not say Sa, they used to say her, and the Zoroastrians also used to say her for Sa, and therefore Sindhu became Hindu. All nonsense, you see. In the many of our Sanskrit literature, they describe that Himalaya he and Hindu Sagar Hindu. That is what connects us as Hindu. So Hindu came as a regional term because we are 100% Hindu anyway. All our religion at that time was only one in those ancient days. And so Hindu came that way. But here it is now going on, propaganda is going on, and our people are picking up like these JFK types who don't read, who only see cinemas and they don't read at all. So I'm saying we are not at a war today of weapons. We are here in a war of ideas. How to, distort your thing and bring your country to not to fall prey to the brilliance of Indian minds and things like that, or fall for yoga or for meditation and so on, which they were. So this is one. They're always invaded people, they're all used to, there are multi-races, somebody is from Africa, somebody is from here. All nonsense, because DNA studies have shown that we are all the same, without any varna, this thing, that thing, all divisions. In spite of that, the DNA study says that we are one people. Then so the second point I wanted to make, which I've now just elaborated, the second point is that Indians are not one people. They are based on caste. Somebody is this caste, somebody is that caste. First of all, there's no such thing as caste. I don't know what caste is in our. We have varna and jati. And varna is according to your occupation. If you are a scholar and you're a jnani, tyagi, sahasi, then you are called a Brahmin. Doesn't matter where you are born. In fact, everybody is born a Shudra according to our scripture. Only after he selects his profession, he'll be called a Brahmin, Kshatriya, etc. So, Brahmin is a Jnani Tyagi. And this is not my research. It's there in the Gita, in 3 different places, in 3 different chapters. Krishna explains to and tells him that his duty as a Kshatriya, what it is, and why he should stand up and fight. So in that context, he says, this is what the Brahmins, this is what makes a Brahmin, this is what makes a Kshatriya. You are a Kshatriya, so you better have to fight. And then the Vaishya community, and then the Shudra community. This scheduled caste was a very, very, very small group of people who were expelled from the society for some wrong they did. But their children were not. For example, Valmiki. Valmiki was born of scheduled caste parents, and he became a Maharishi. Although he started off as a Dakayat and all that, but later on he became. He recited Ram's name, and suddenly he became a Maharishi. So this is same thing with Vedavyasa. His mother was a fisherwoman, but he became a Maharishi. Vishwamitra was born in a Kshatriya family, but he became a Maharishi because they were all Jnanis, Tyagis and Sahasis. Sahasi means a courageous man, Nirdar. So this was the thing. But they say, no, this is all racial. Brahmins come from Europe and Shudras come from Africa and all this nonsense. Of course, all the DNA studies now have demolished that. And but they will not accept that. They will, if you tell them, no. Their own Houston University has done the research on DNA and said this. I want to tell you one thing in a side. There is a school in England called St. James School. And you can get this in Google if you go Google and write St. James School. There, the principal, it's an elite white people's school. There, the principal has laid down that all students from the age of 6 to 11 every morning will recite shlokas from our script. And you can go to Google and type St. James School and Sanskrit, or you can say Hindu religion, all that. Now, just now, when the king was coronated, this Charles,